We're all looking for a purpose in life. We each find our own reasons to get out of bed in the morning, go to work, school, or spend hours in traffic, driving to your cousin's wedding and secretly hoping they get divorced so it can reinforce the nihilistic outlook that you have towards things that people deem special. That way, it could secretly make you feel less alone, even though deep down you know you are afraid and you are in pain because life consistently rips out any little nugget of joy from your hands in such a way that perpetuates your negative outlook on life. Which, by the way, you fake with a positive attitude for people not to question how you really feel and who you truly are. I'm sure you can relate. But anyways, let's talk about how the Midnight Gospel gave me an existential crisis. This Netflix original animated show was created by Duncan, Trussell, and Pendleton. If you recognize any of those names, it's because Duncan is a pretty well-known comedian and has a popular podcast, and he oftentimes guests on the Joe Rogan Experience. And Pendleton, well, he created Finn and Jake. At a quick glance, the Duncan and Pendleton combo doesn't really make too much sense, but if you take a closer look, they're both cut from the same cloth. Pendleton, of course, is no stranger to wonderfully strange animation, obviously. And Duncan is a comedian that hosts the Duncan Trussell Family Hour podcast, which has an array of different guests that make you go, whoa. The two paired up to make an existential hullabaloo of a show. But what is it actually about? The show follows Clancy, this character who left Earth to live on the chromatic ribbon. It's a pretty trippy looking place. Much like his creator, he's making a space cast, which is basically a podcast, where he interviews guests who are located in dying planets due to a faulty computer that, by the way, looks like a vagina. The point of him using the simulator is for him to go adventuring into these worlds, collecting stuff, and interviewing interesting guests. The computer is faulty because Clancy continues to neglect giving it maintenance, which is why it only shows him the planets that are constantly dying or in an apocalyptic state, even though the computer keeps reminding him to give that maintenance, which already tells you a lot about who Clancy is. The show is cut from interviews from Duncan's real-life podcast, but also includes some ridiculous and funny scripted material in between. Each episode explores a whole bunch of different themes, and the guests in each episode have a very relevant background to that theme. You know what, here, instead of me talking so much about it, let's run through the episodes in season 1 and I'll show you what I mean. Spoiler alert, kind of. And the reason why I say kind of is because this isn't a traditional show with recurring characters and plot points. I've watched the entire show 3 times and I still can't wrap my head around it.
One of my favorite statements is, health is about accepting and perceiving and dealing with reality on reality's terms.
You've probably seen this first guest on TV a lot, but he is known to be an addiction medicine specialist. So naturally, the conversation they have ranges from defining what a good and bad drug is, pot versus medicine, and a whole bunch of other stuff.
I would much rather see people on a lot of pot than any of the pills that they're taking.
However, to me, this episode is about anger.
Like, I get angry, and I will have, angry outbursts sometimes. That's a thing that's inside of me, and that's why psychedelics have been very useful to me.
Let's do this. I want you to think about the last time you were pissed off. Something happened and you probably reacted to it, right? But why did that thing piss you off? Do you know yourself enough to find the answer to that? At least for me, I get mad all the time because I have brain dead roommates who don't know how to fucking clean this goddamn apartment that we pay too much for, and this piece of shit Wi-Fi is always going off. The way Clancy dealt with his anger is drugs. More specifically, hallucinogens.
Now, you said something that stayed with me, which was the analogy of the elevator and hallucinogens.
Yes.
Do you use that often, or is that...
So the metaphor is that it's compared to an elevator that takes you up to the very top floor of this building where this incredible party's happening. The doors open up. You see this amazing utopian nirvanic situation.
That you never really knew was there. You never seen it before.
Never even knew it was there. And then the elevator, the thing dings, the doors shut, it comes back down, and suddenly you're screaming at people in traffic again.
And so that's an analogy for what hallucinogens do.
At least in my case, I know that anger has always been pain hidden in plain sight. And when I really think about it, it's because some fuck shit that hurt me a lot happened. And I get really angry to protect my sense of reality. Basically my ego. They keep reinforcing the fact that there's no such thing as a good or bad drug, which I do like because it communicates that there's also a sense of accountability that you have to have.
Let me just clarify I hate this idea of good drugs and bad drugs.
You're also responsible with how you use things. And lots of times you can use anger as a drug so that you don't really reveal how much pain you're actually in.
Buddha compares anger to a sweet flower with bitter roots. And so we follow the sweetness down.
Is she in labor?
Uncovering what the anger is hiding can be an extremely painful experience because it can shatter the story that you kept telling yourself that justified that anger. I have to work on my anger.
Hey, why do all these planets have X's on them?
Because they are dying, as I am dying.
They're not dying. You're a machine.
This episode's theme is a little bit more focused on death, which honestly is a revolving theme throughout the whole show.
Annie, welcome to Midnight Gospel.
It's so cool.
First question to you is, are you worried because it seems like we're all about to die?
Clancy gets caught up in this deer dog's horns and gets taken to a factory to get chopped up and killed. Which, I have a question, by the way. What would go through your mind if you're about to die? Think about it for a second. If you actually knew you were gonna die in an hour, what would you think about? Would you wish you did things differently? I mean, you know you're gonna die, right? It's inching closer and closer every single day, and there's nothing you can do about it. The clock is ticking, your heart is beating, your mind is wearing down.
Did you know you're going to fucking die?
Acknowledging death is an inevitable part of...
Yeah, it's so freeing to accept it.
Death is something we ignore talking about. It's the elephant in the room that is staring everyone in the face, but we always mask it. And I think when it comes to most apparent is those moments when you're just laying in bed staring at the ceiling and it just dawns on you. You're like, damn, I'm really out here living life, making these decisions, and I know it'll come to an end. Or maybe you've experienced death recently, or the potential of death is hanging out due to a loved one getting sick, or watching a car crash in your neighborhood, or your fish committing suicide by jumping out and getting stuck in between the wall and the heavy shelf that you kept your fishbowl on, and right before you could get to it, it suffocated to death.
It takes death to help you let go, go, okay, fine.
Okay, fine.
And that's sort of how I had my beautiful moment of surrender with God. It's, I say, with enormous bitterness, okay, fine.
Death comes in many different ways, shapes, and forms. Whether it's death of a relationship, of a loved one, of a job you liked, it's always painful. It's a constant reminder that the good things come to an end.
Through love, all pain will turn to medicine.
What?
Behold the death of the old eon and the birth of the new.
This episode was by far one of the most confusing ones to me because they talk about magic in very technical terms. Not the kind you see at a kid's birthday party, more so like real magic to help you transcend, astral project, and shit like that. But one of the things that caught my attention was that this guest has a wild fucking story. The guest, Damien Eccles, is a ceremonial magician who spent 18 years in prison, facing execution after being wrongly convicted of a triple child killing. This woman named Lori Davis, who he never met by the way, began a campaign that would set him free. Eventually the two of them married. I mean, if a woman literally frees you from being wrongly convicted and you're about to die, yeah, I think you have to be with her. That's a sign from the universe, you have to marry this woman. But anyways, someone who's wrongly convicted in prison for murder might know a thing or two about how and what to pay attention to in life, which is what this episode is about, attention.
Most people spend their lives complaining about things they don't like.
Yes.
So you're adding power to it. You're giving it chi. We're supposed to focus on what it is that we're wanting to move towards instead of away from. You don't have to lie when something is bad. You know, if you have a cold and someone says, "Are you sick?" That doesn't mean say no. It means say, "I'm getting better minute by minute."
Oh, that's great.
As you can tell by now, the first time you watch the show, you're really going to have to pay attention to get the most out of it. Because the material can get somewhat complicated if it's the first time you're hearing about something like this, and you might get distracted by the beautiful animation and the cute cats.
It ain't cheap, pal. It's gonna be 5 cats.
He's bluffing. I can get it for 3. Watch this. 3.
5.
Fine, Steve. 4. And that's my last offer.
All right.
This is a good example as to how the show pulls you out of the rabbit hole with funny scenes like this one, just for you to enjoy and not fall too much into an existential pit of despair. I don't have much to say about this particular episode, but before we close it out, one theme resurfaced again and again, and that's being present.
What we think of as enlightenment is the first step in a process. In magic, what they call in the East Enlightenment, we call solar consciousness. Solar consciousness means that you are completely and absolutely in the present moment, just like whenever you achieve enlightenment.
I hope you don't mind, Master, but I created an erotic avatar for you, designed so that you could truly enjoy the many orgies this world has to offer.
Whoa, cool dude.
I'm not a forgiving person. I will let my ego and pride consume me, especially for the small and petty shit, and hold it against a person. For example, there was a bitch in 6th grade who lied to everyone and said that I was spreading a rumor that I wanted to kiss her. But in fact, it was one of her whore friends that was saying that. This fucking bitch. Anyway, clearly I've moved on and grown as a person from that experience. Oh yeah, and this episode struck a chord because it's about forgiveness.
Forgiveness is tricky.
I think of it as like this ultimate spiritual pull-up bar. Forgiveness is the pull-up bar. We look at it and we think, no fucking way. That son of a bitch. Are you kidding?
I like the pull-up analogy because forgiving is painful and it takes way too much effort sometimes. When I have to forgive someone, or even worse, ask for forgiveness, it feels like my ass is getting sliced.
My friend Joey Diaz told me that's one of the worst things you could do to a man. Slice his ass, because he can't sit down for weeks.
Like anything good in my life, it's come from having good people around me that allow me to see when I fucked up and I have to forgive or ask for forgiveness. I still hate that bitch from 6th grade. Oh my God. Or maybe I should let it go.
Think of forgiveness as for freeing your own heart from these states of grudge and resentment and anger and ill will.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the best we can do. We're not going to love our enemy, but we don't have to be obsessed for our lifetime with the harm that was done to us.
Whoa, what's that place?
Oops. You weren't supposed to see that. That's my soul prison for wayward simulated beings.
What the fuck does that mean, baby?
It's a tower of malfunctioning Sims, so enraged with existential dread that they've ripped out their own tongues.
What? Yes, send me in.
Buddhism comes up a lot in this show. So let me just give you a quick watered down crash course on what Buddhism's core beliefs are, commonly referred to as the Four Noble Truths. First one is existence is suffering. Second one is suffering has a cause, namely craving and attachment. Third is there is the ending of suffering, which is nirvana. And last one is there is a path to end that suffering. So it's very appropriate that this episode, at least to me, was about suffering. For a viewer that really isn't familiar with a lot of these concepts like myself, hearing about them for the first time was complicated to say the least. Take for example this part.
So Buddhist meditation is sitting with the feeling until you notice that the feeling is changing of its own accord, and the fundamental nature of everything is change and is impermanent and is emptiness, and the whole dream of your life that you thought was real was just a dream until you wake up.
Sometimes I get error 404 in my head whenever my brain just doesn't wrap around a concept, and that part kind of screwed me up, and I've played it over and over again, but I still don't get it. However, sometimes they really do simplify things. For example, having a spiritual practice with a goal in mind.
Any spiritual practice that's like trying to get to something. I'm going to become more spiritual. I'm going to become more loving, and I'm going to make some change. I'm getting points somehow. I'm changing. Buddhist perspective is, dude, you're grinding in World of Warcraft. Why?
That's such a great analogy.
Step the fuck away from the computer. Wake up. It's just a game.
They describe it as putting on goggles to avoid the feeling. Existence is suffering, and suffering is that feeling. We want to avoid our inherent suffering, and that suffering comes from knowing that everything is impermanent. Nothing lasts, because of old age, sickness, you get fired or broken up with. And to dwell on that suffering is unbearable. They go on to talk about being hopeless and how freeing it can actually be. A lot of times we use hope sort of as a beating stick. I hope she comes back. I hope I can get this job.
I hope I don't fall.
But when it doesn't happen, all that hope that you placed on that outcome falls on you, and it hurts like a bitch. Let go of hope. Sounds negative, right? Well, to me, the way I interpret it was let go of expectations. Don't try to force results, because in the end, you might fuck yourself up more instead of just sitting there with the feeling that everything comes to an end and you're okay with whatever happens next. it's out of your control. Think of two people stuck in traffic. One of them abandoned hope that they're going to be on time for work and they just embrace being there hopeless. And the second person is getting pissed off, screaming at the car in front of him, punching the roof. He's getting road rage. It's dumb when you really think about it. So is hopelessness such a bad thing?
Isn't it odd that you can never see your own eyes?
Yep. Come on, Charlotte. Let's meet the neighbors.
In this episode, we see Clancy's neglect to maintenance his simulator finally catching up to him. It starts glitching and stops working. And Clancy gets pissed off. He's screaming and yelling at the computer, asking why it didn't remind him to maintenance it. Complete lack of accountability, he starts throwing a fit.
What the fuck, simulator? You need to fix your operator errors so that I can do my face.
FAQ. Please read the FAQ. Just open any of the 40 messages I've sent to you.
Fine.
And this part really pissed me off, and it's because I've done what Clancy does sometimes, which is ignore warning signs until it can't be ignored any longer and that problem explodes in your face. But let's be honest, how often do we listen when there are warning signs? Even when they come from people that we trust, we tend to ignore shit like that. Fuck, if I would have just dealt with this earlier.
Why don't you take a seat?
How about you take a seat on my fucking face, Mr. Meditation Man? How does that sound with your big dolphin smile and your comfortable fucking pants, huh? How does that sound? Now you see who you really are, filled with fucking rage!
Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Let's take a minute together, okay? Here are 3 principles we could at least check out. First one, silence. Giving you room to listen.
If you're like me, sometimes your brain goes at 1,000,000 miles an hour and it never shuts up. Which is funny because this episode to me is about meditation. It captures so well what trying to meditate actually feels like.
This sucks. This is literally the worst experience of my entire life. Why the fuck would anyone do this to themselves? I wonder if I left the faucet on. Man, bees are amazing. My sister's allergic to bees.
You might have heard this term before, but there's a Buddhist term called monkey mind, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's when your mind is restless, unsettled, and you can't shut it up. It's funny that they actually even took the time to illustrate it here.
Monkey?
Having a mindfulness practice such as meditation helps you quiet down the monkey mind, which is good because you can just accept whatever is happening at that moment. Sort of like that traffic example we just talked about.
The moment I just accepted where I was, instead of wishing I was somewhere else, everything just got better.
I get pissed so easily, as we already discussed with the story about that bitch from 6th grade. This kind of shows that I should probably meditate, but getting pissed off leads me to shut off completely. I don't let anyone in. I like being alone in my swamp mind like Shrek, but I don't get it. I don't understand why so much shit triggers me. It could be anything from shit at work to that fucking bitch in 6th grade that lied to me about wanting me to kiss her, you bitch! Oh my God. All right, it's coming out again.
If you're caught up in your story, it's like living in a tiny apartment with just enough room for you and your little mattress. The moment you get a little space between yourself and your thoughts, it's like moving into a much bigger house. Then there's room to invite people in. There's space for you, and there's space for them. That's spaciousness.
When I saw this episode, I'm like, dude, I have the answer.
I get it. I'm enlightened now.
I am death.
It's nice to meet you. My name's Clancy.
Sorry, I had something in my throat.
Okay, so Clancy learns how to meditate. He's enlightened now. This makes him go to a planet that is just a blank ball because he doesn't need any distractions. He's already enlightened.
It really is just a big blank ball. Oh, God, fuck this. Let's spice this ball up!
Yeah, I can relate to that. Meditation can suck sometimes. I mean, come on, you need more stimulation. I mean, who the fuck just wants to exist, you know? Being present sucks. Numb me out, bro. Give me that dopamine or give me death. Speaking of death, this is another episode that really focuses on death, and the guest perfectly complements the topic. Kayleen is quite an expert on death. She's a mortician, author, blogger, and YouTube personality, known for advocating death acceptance and the reform of Western funeral industry practices. She has a really cool YouTube channel, to be honest. I got a little bit obsessed because she talks a lot about the history of death, rituals, the funeral industry, and death-related topics. It's really trippy because she has a skull, literally a skull, her dad's skull. Like her dad passed away and she has his skull as memorabilia. So someone who is that pretty close entwined with death and all of its history definitely knows a thing or two about how to deal with death. And this is what Caitlin had to say.
So, your death. Losing people to you is so painful.
It is.
Do you have any advice for people who are like dealing with death in their own lives?
Yeah. So, the best thing you could possibly do for yourself in your entire life, I think, is be super present.
I haven't had someone close to me die yet, although I'm at that age where my parents are getting older. So I get really anxious about the future because I keep thinking about how we're all going to handle the death of a loved one. It's just a scary feeling trying to face death. It's something that we don't really talk too much about. Life is suffering, but the thought of it ending scares us. When you really think about death, it's a fucking scary thing. Why don't we talk more about that? Nobody admits that we're all scared of dying. Like, what do you do when it happens to someone you love? Or when you get close to it? Death scares me, but I don't really know what to do about that.
Stop fighting it. You're gonna be okay. Face the void.
Mom? Hi, Mom.
Hi, Duncan.
Would you be in my vidcast?
This is an episode that destroyed me completely. Clancy interviews his mom in real life. So basically it's Duncan's mom that is on this episode. It's the last episode of the season. And she's dying. It starts out pretty sweet, talking about how important formative years are to human beings.
You subscribe to the idea that the formative years create the beginning of a pattern that goes throughout your life.
Yes. I would say that the first 5 years of our lives shapes the personality structure in such a way that any kind of spiritual work that you're going to do later is going to involve looking back at the patterns that were set down in your family of origin.
There's no way to avoid that.
No.
It's strange to think how everything during our formative years, which by the way refers to when you're born to up until 8 years old, like every interaction, every sound, every experience is a huge part of who you are today because of that period. I started to think of myself, obviously because I'm the most important person in this movie, right? But I'm super jumpy as a person, like everything scares me and I just jump easily. I know there's some trauma hidden in there as to why I am like that, but some therapy would probably do me good. Point being is I'm sure I can trace it back to some fuck shit that happened to me as a kid. Some people just behave in a way because that's the way they grew up and the environment promoted that behavior that they have.
Because the house is always going to get knocked down.
That's part of life. The house gets knocked down.
There's just no way out of that.
There's no way out of it. But if you will think about all the times that your houses have gotten knocked down in your life,
yes,
they are actually the transformative moments.
Right.
Being present is a theme that is bombarded on this show. I kept hearing be present, don't run away from reality, exist with the feeling. And then they slap you across the face with, you're gonna die. Did you know you're gonna die? Death, death. It scares the shit out of you because I just came here for the fun looking animation and to numb myself from reality, but instead I got a fucking existential crisis.
Meditation is preparation for death.
I think that's true. And meditation is one spiritual practice that prepares us for death.
And maybe thinking this deep about death is a problem. You know, we think we're the main character of this movie, right? You never wake up and say, wow, I am a background actor in my life. And if you do, you should probably get therapy. But we experience life through our lens, the first person point of view. So I think that's why when we get hit with the idea of death, we get challenged because it's a voice saying, psst, by the way, your movie's about to end. And you probably think, what the fuck? What's gonna happen to the movie if the protagonist is not there? I'm the main character. What's gonna happen to me? We're not that special. But what about mom and dad? Or your brother? Or your sister? Your friends? Are they not a special case? I mean, they're special to me. I don't want them to disappear. If they left, a part of my heart would leave with them.
But so many of us are spending so much time engaged in just ridiculous activities. It seems like just to try to avoid this experience.
Exactly. People really try to avoid the consideration that they are going to die and the people they love are going to die.
This is a picture found of me, my brother, and my grandparents. My grandfather died last year, but, you know, my grandmother is still with us, like I said. However, we had a pretty serious couple of scares with her health, and I had to come to terms with this. I have to say it, which is the reality is that she's gonna die soon. Most times I don't really process emotions immediately. They sort of have a delayed response. And it's even more because she lives in Costa Rica, so sadly I can't really share as often as I used to. You know, but thankfully a few years ago I went there and I hugged her and cried like a little baby because I knew it was the last time that I would ever see her. Right now I'm just waiting for that phone call. The phone call that everyone gets when things don't really go that well.
Like, this is not a desirable feeling.
No.
But it's a feeling that every single human being will experience, one way or the other.
It is.
Well, I love you very much, obviously.
I love you too. And Duncan, that kind of love isn't going anywhere.
I love this line in the show because the reason why it hurts is really because it made me feel so much love and allowed me to give love as well. I think that's why, really, the people who are no longer with you, the ones you mourn, gave you a lot of love, and that's why it hurts. But that love doesn't leave. It's a beautiful reminder that, you know, you had some moments with them, but everything good comes to an end, and...
I know this transfigure, I know, but come on, there's no way to stop the heartbreak. What do you do about that?
You cry. You cry.
Nothing works.